I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
I am so sorry I left you on jack stands for 5 months.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Middle of summer almost. Well, boys, I decided to work a little bit cooler, no pun intended. 15,000 BTU to keep this garage cool. Been also tinkering and getting some wiring completed over the past few weeks because my son is now out of school and I now have him full-time. I've had him full-time for about, I'd say 3.5 months now. So a little bit of a lifestyle change and back to the car. A couple overnights I've been working just a little bit on the wiring, getting everything back together, working on some O2 gauge placement, working on a little bit of wiring here and there. I'll go through that all here in a little bit, but we have some guests in the house. Oh yes, that's going in the Mazda pickup truck. I have a few more guests, just a few more. This will all be going in depth in the other videos for my son's RX8 and my Ford Ranger build. But back to the RX8. We'll get into some of the wiring. Let's start right here at the back. We've got our 250 amp circuit breaker, no fuse here. So we'll follow that. It's not really wired into the car at the moment. It's just kind of laying there. Comes up to the starter, and then from the starter I have another 8 gauge that's ran around and up to the battery. That goes to this side right here. This side is only for the alternator, which runs down this way right there to the back of the alternator. So that's how that goes, if anybody is wondering. Let's get back to the back. We also have this 12 volt that comes here to the breakout panel. This is for the wideband, this is to the Mega Squirt, and this is to the fuel pump. The fuel pump relay is ground triggered right here by Mega Squirt. When the fuel pump cuts on, it will then in turn turn on the wideband, and there is the wideband power here. Mega Squirt and the wideband all share common ground, so you don't have to worry about voltage offset or anything like that. So when I turn on, which I'll show you the wire, which one is it? It is, oh, I believe this blue one right here. So this blue one right here is a car on. So when the ignition's on, it turns this relay on right here, which turns the Mega Squirt on. The Mega Squirt is fused right here to that relay. That is how Mega Squirt is operating in this vehicle. Definitely have to tidy this up, and of course the common ground goes right up to the battery. This ground right here goes to up here on the strut tower. I'm showing very good voltage across the vehicle, so I'm not worried about that there. As for our ground, we have a huge ground strap that is run over here to the edge of the shock tower. Seems to be working just fine. I'll check the temperature on that when I actually go to turn the motor over. Back over to the engine bay, we have our, I believe this is the air pump. It's a 60 amp that runs up to here. That's just grounded right next to it. Now that is my hots that are turned on with the key of the car that comes over here to all my fuses and relays. This is the relay right here that'll go to the oil pump. That is for the cutout when I decide to do it. Then I have injectors, coils, well, bank 1, bank 2 coils. This is the 3 amp that goes to the crank sensor, cam sensor, pressure sensors, anything like that that requires a 12-volt signal, the MAF sensor, things like that. So that's what powers all of those things. And to keep it from draining the battery or anything crazy or leaving a hot ignition, nothing comes on until the car is actually turned on. And then down here, get this off. Now we have our splicing. So we have a hot right here. So I was wrong in the last video. I think I said this was a ground trigger. This is actually the hot wire that needed 12 volts. So that is going over into the fuse box for 12 volts constant. And that triggers the relay that's in the very bottom of this box for the ground. The ground is signaled by the Mega Squirt. Do I have the green one? Yes. So this is a trigger wire from the Mega Squirt. I use the VVT. So I have a condition set. If ECU is turned on, it turns this into a ground. So when the ECU comes on, it grounds the side of the relay that has the 12 volts. And so ECU on gives that 12 volts. So everything's powered down unless the key is on. That is the biggest factor here. I've also got the firewall connection sitting right there, goes over. I'm actually going to get rid of the EV1s here. Oop, get this off, EV1s. So these are 2,200 cc injectors. Way overkill. Car's only going to be 600 to 800. I've already figured that. It's going to be the cap of that turbo. So I figured the 2200 cc needs to come over in this motor. So I bought a set of injectors. These are 80 pounders. Should be perfectly in the realm for 85, around 750, 800 horsepower. So these are EV6, and I have some coming in the mail. So I'm going to switch over those connectors. This will be the EV1 motor. EV6s will go over there. Now we're on to the starter wire. So we have the blue and red starter wire right here. Comes out of that connector. Comes down, over, underneath here, and down. It was actually just long enough to go to the LS starter right here. So I didn't have to worry about extending the wires or anything. Reaches that, no problem whatsoever. So I should be able to use the key once again for starting it, turning it on, everything. And here we are inside of the vehicle. Don't mind the second gauge up here. I was doing a little troubleshooting. That's my old one out of my Kia sitting right over there. For some reason, I'm not getting voltage off of the O2 line synced up in Mega Squirt. So I'm kind of just troubleshooting that right now. But as you can see, Mega Squirt fits in here perfectly. Right underneath that right there. I do have the adapter coming to turn this into a gauge pod. So it'll be a nice clean looking setup here. And I was trying to program this with the factory radio. You can't do that on S1. S2, so you hold the mode button and you can put in whatever text you want. You have to have the Metro kit to change that. So this will be getting a head unit pretty soon. But down here, I have to do a little bit of heat shrink still. So we have the grounds that are extended all the way back. We have our wideband power and ground right here. Goes all the way back. Our ECU, Mega Squirt on. And our fuel pump ground switch. Still needs to be heat shrunk. Words are hard. And here is where I took that 12 volt key on power from right here. So these two switches, I don't have heated seats or anything crazy. I was probing around and I found this one right here. That's for me heat shrinking. I did not burn the wire. Okay, well I did with a flame. But the blue with the white stripe, use a voltmeter of course to check. That is a 12 volt. Yes, I will be covering that, don't worry. but I used a ground right here and just put the voltmeter to things here on the end of the pins, turn the key on, and just watch, see which one's lit up for 12 volts with key on. That's how I did that. And I, of course, took out, get that out of the way, the whole center console out, and then the wires run right back in that area to the back. So everything will be nice and tucked. OEM look inside of the vehicle, and we'll go ahead and power it on. All right, so let's get our tune fired up. LS1, MS3X. All right, offline. Have our trusty key right here into the ignition. Watch the wideband. Everything cuts on. Mega Squirt goes to connect. There we go. Temperature in the garage, 73. So that's coolant temp. And then over here we have manifold temp, 75. Everything looks like it is reading just fine on the key. Everything's working. Heck, I even got a radio if I want. But we do have a few lights on, I'm assuming, because it's not actually running. So I'll get with the group and on Facebook and see what's going on there, read through a couple posts. So that gauge pillar should be in Thursday. So I am working, excuse me, on getting this wideband to actually show a correct reading into Mega Squirt, where my AFR right there, 1.3, actually shows to the gauge. I've already tried calibrating it. If anybody has had a Mega Squirt before and had these issues, definitely let me know. But I have came into calibrate AFR. I have done a custom linear wideband for the actual volts on the sensor and the manual. That way it should be spot on with wherever the voltage is. But still, that thing could be showing 14, 15, 12 on just sitting in the air, but nothing is reflecting here. And I do even have the AFR EGO control. Everything is set up here. I have the sensors, I have a wideband. It's also set up in the vehicle project properties. I do have the settings here as a wideband. So I don't know what's going on with that. I've flashed it a few times. Everything seems fine. I just need to get this wideband working so I can get everything ready to start over here on the outside of the vehicle. And once I get the wideband set up, I do have the timing light, so I can set my timing with the timing mark I made down there. Here we go, power went off. There's that spot I jumped in for a constant 12 volt to come over to the relay inside of this box. Probably should have a fuse on that. I'll do that later. Just trying to get it started. So yeah, wideband, got that to time. Then we're giving it fuel pressure and trying to crank it. Well, almost. I have to finish hooking up this drain, put the power up there to this connector right here. That way I can do that. I already have the new oil feed ran going from over there all the way back to my drilled out spot that I did right there. Probably have to tighten that. I think it might be loose, but there we go. There's the alternator connector. Definitely need to wrap that. That was fun putting it on too. Yeah. So I'm that close to starting it. That freaking close. One wire sending 5 volts is the bane of my existence right now. That's what I'm currently fighting. So I probably should tighten up all the lines, hook that up, run a wire just so the return pump will kick on so I don't fry the turbo right there. Yeah, I'm ready to hear this thing chumming along. Oh yeah, and I stole my downpipe off of the Kia. So you can see this right here. Yep, that downpipe right there. And then of course the 90 right there. But I already had my O2 bung. I didn't want to do a temporary exhaust, waste an O2 bung. So I just stole this one off of the Kia. Sorry Kia. so it can start. This close to starting, this close. 5 months right there in the spot, but wouldn't change it. I'm happy my son's with me. Just need to get him in the garage to work on his so we can get car meets together. I'll just go over real quick since I am mentioning it. Of course, this is a 4.8, nothing crazy. My 5.7 injectors. But here is the bread and butter. A CD009 with a Collins adapter kit. I already have the remote bleeder on it, came with that. And then we have a adapter fitting here. So this adapter fitting goes to 4AN. I'll do this again probably in the other video. But then it goes over here to that. So M1 by 1 goes right into that fitting. That will come down since this is a factory clutch car. Just need that adapter fitting there. And then of course the remote bleeder. And we're good, we'll have an operating clutch. But I bought this unit here for $2,400 freaking dollars. Comes with a dual clutch, monster clutch, good for 1,400 foot-pounds of torque. Came with 2 shifters in case I need to move the location around. Even the yoke, because these yokes are hard to find. So I can get a drive shaft made. VSS sensor. Oh yeah, perfect for a Mega Squirt candidate. So yeah, 6-speed, 4.8. Very simple. It's already got a fuel system, everything else. That should be a quick swap. And I also got the Corvette mounts and some plates. So he needs to get down here and work on this. Yeah, that's the 4.8 setup. Oh, and before LSRX8 jacked their prices up, I saw he was raising them. I couldn't take a chance. Shout out. Thanks, Steven, for this crank pulley adapter with the teeth. Had to get it. Just makes life so easy. So if anybody isn't being too cheap, definitely support LS1RX8. He's the one reason we have all this information out there. Definitely shout out to him, appreciate it. But yeah, back to the car. Alright, whatever, since I'm leaking information. We of course have our 92mm intake right there. I got it for free, pretty much, so it's for a rec port head. Got the Cathedral to rec port adapters, 70 bucks on eBay, CNC, done, no big deal. I need to put those injectors into here, but yep, 5.3, Gen 3, until I can get used to tuning, and of course the Gen 4 motor will go in it. eBay headers, shouldn't be, I mean, it's nothing crazy. Then we have a FabBot adapter kit to a Colorado Air 5. I mean, these things are holding 1100 on Sloppy Mechanics. Why not? Got the trans for 100 bucks, $500 adapter kit, $300 or $400 clutch in there. Yeah, should be golden. Then we have our GT35 76 turbos, 2 of them. They should support 1200 together. So this should definitely be a 1000 to 1200 horsepower car, no problem. Got my wastegates, so dual wastegate setup, 1 on each side. Yeah, so there you go, sneak peek on that build. Will also be on Mega Squirt. Tempted to run methanol or full alcohol. I don't know. Might play around, learn some new things. But there you go. There is the 2 projects. After I get this running, stay focused. Get this running. Alright, we got a little proof of concept. I got this hooked up so the oil return will go into the tank. I have the power wire going up to the fuse box area. Ground, I haven't ran a ground. I just used that and went up to a ground up here. So I don't care, I'm just testing. So let's do some programmable outputs in Mega Squirt. Alright, so our wire we went to is the oil pump, which is a switched ground. Now the wire I went to is a light green pink, and I just want to verify that when I wired up the whole harness. Let's see, oil pump, idle, light green, pink. So we know it is the idle, not the F idle. So now we have our idle selected here, and then we have it enabled. When I turn on the ECU, it is not going to turn on. Once I hit an active value of RPM above 500, it will cut on the oil pump. And to test this, we hear nothing out here now. If we turn this to off so it's on all the time, oh, heard a click. Oil pump is now running, and then I can turn it back onto the condition and it shuts off. So there we go. Now with this burned to the ECU, when I key on, nothing's gonna happen. When RPM gets above 500, my oil pump for the turbo will turn on. So it only runs when the motor is running. That is how we set up the programmable right there. I forgot to go over the power steering rack. I extended the ground all the way up to here. I have my two connectors, which would be these up here. That goes to the torque sensor, that goes to actual rack. So, and then we have these right here that go to the boxes up inside of there. Ground, I had that right up here. And then the power, I just took the wire, cut the loom so I get some stretch out of it, and went to the fuse box. The only problem is I have a dead rack. Didn't realize it. So I went to over here and I shot resistance between these two plugs here, and it's got a ground short. It's full connection. I came over, I gotta have two, shot these wires, I came out to 140 ohms. So that tells me I have an internally shorted rack over here, which of course I bought the car so long ago, I don't remember if the power steering even worked. I don't think it did. So yeah, I need to get a new rack for this one. If he doesn't work on his car, I'm stealing his until he works on it. So, sucks to suck, but there we go. So this will not have the power steering in it for a little bit, but we have the oil pump, we have the oil feed, need to tighten that stuff down. We have our motor oil, we have our ATF to put into the transmission, need to put the gasket on, and I made a quick loop for the cooler lines on the side of the transmission. So I can have this running. I'm not going to burn up the torque converter, not going to burn up the clutches. And I also bought a yoke for the 4L60E so it doesn't puke transmission fluid out the back. So just a few more little things. She's almost there. We've got our oil pump, we've got all of that working, and I did go in and test every single injector one by one with the testing cycle on the ECU. Everything clicked, everything's working fine. Oh, and the bracket for the ABS, I never covered that. I just made a bracket right here. So fun fact, the side, which I probably don't have any up there, the little pegs on each side right here have an Allen head and they come off, and it's a 10mm. So I just went to the strut mount, bent it, drilled a hole, put a 10 in. Guess what? There's my ABS mount. But I still need to take these things out and clean them out because there was some gunk like the top of this. Those are in the hole, so I need to clean that out. Let's see, is there any other little stuff I did? I don't think so, but if I notice something, I'll let you know so you can do it yourself. Almost ready. I was literally saying I can't think of anything else, and I'm staring right at it. So this is a throttle cable off of a 98 to 99 Camaro, which ironically looks like it will be just the right length, maybe just a little bit too long, but it does work just fine. So I'll have to drill a hole in the firewall this size once I figure out the pedal modification, which a whole bunch of people have done, and then get this snaked around to go around the back of the motor and into the firewall. 9899 Camaro. Perfect. I don't know if anybody caught this back here, but I do have a new exhaust and resonator. The CRZ is a little loud, so I'm gonna put a resonator in. I blew a hole in my muffler. Too many backfires. But yeah, still running great. I need to, I cracked the downpipe, so it is running just a hair rich. I need to take the downpipe off, fix that, add a resonator into the middle pipe, and then a new muffler because I blew a hole like this big, gotcha, in the top of the muffler. So yeah, that's another project I need to get to, but it is still drivable. I am working on this one. I want to hear this thing start. Keep on keeping on. Here we are on the next day. I've already filled it up with some oil, putting some trans fluid in now. I put about a quart in. I just want to make sure that I don't have any leaks because I did use a old pan that had a little repair on it. So got the filter in the pan, almost forgot that. Checked all the lines, oil drain, oil feed, checked all that stuff, we're good. Just gonna let that quart sit in there for a little bit, see if I have a leak start on the pan. If not, I have another pan in the back. I'm gonna top it off, and then we are going to rotate it over a little bit now that I got the starter to click last night off the factory wiring. Side note. Okay guys, fun fact. This was an auto car, no clutch. So these two wires right here, you have to put together. That is the green with the red stripe and the white with the blue stripe on that plug right there. That will be those two pins right there. Have to be together or the starter solenoid will not click over. But yeah, using the factory blue wire, I got it to click last night. Didn't try to turn it over, didn't have any oil, just made it click, made me happy. I quit for the night. So now we are waiting for this to top it off. We'll start turning it over, see if we can build some oil pressure in the Mega Squirt. Nothing on the ground. Doing real good. While I was waiting for that, I tightened up the brake lines around here. There is your order if anybody needs to know it. It is green, pink, white, blue. And of course you have your back two lines back here. Yellows on this side. All those are tightened up. And over here, I tightened this one up too. I still have some loose suspension in case I need to move something around, do something, but brakes are on. I didn't mess with the back. Fluid's in. Wonder if I should give it a cranky crank. Let's do it. Let's do this in real time. Car's got power. Where are we at the battery? Alright. Ooh, this is nerve-wracking. This is nerve-wracking. Oh, guess I should have had the computer on. Let's just see. Ooh. Will it crank over? That's what I want to hear. Ooh, it moved. I think we need a little bit more juice. But it's turning over. It's actually turning. Oh yeah. Let's do it again. Why not? Yeah, battery is way too dead for this. Okay, don't mind the spider web. Gave it some more grounds with some jumper cables. Went to the 650 cranking amp battery instead of the 550. Charging it up. So we're going to shift our concentration over here to this oil pan for the twin turbo build. So I need to grind these flat spots right here, clean off the table, do some aluminum welding, and I could probably bolt it to the bottom of that motor right over here, so I can drop that in the truck, free up some garage space. Let's do it. After a few days of troubleshooting, let me tell you, do not use these cheap battery cable relocation kits. It came with the twin turbo kit that I got. I kept it thinking it was going to be okay. You can see the wires right there. I don't know if this is copper clad aluminum or something, but it was obviously, you saw it trying to start really slow. And yeah, I gotta switch this over. So I stole the battery cables out of the Kia. These are 1/0 for a welder, 15 feet long, ran underneath the vehicle. Didn't have a ground to the starter last time, so I have a ground to the starter bolt and then the power obviously to the starter. I took off the ground back here that went to this on the terminal, so that's just kind of sitting up there. That does nothing right now. But I did add a GM ground right here, from here down to the box for the Mega Squirt, and then from here over to the chassis. So to the starter bolt, to the starter hot, straight like that. It's cranking over, no problem at all. Voltage looks way better. Don't do that. Buy 2 cables, it sucks. Spend the money. Oh, that was aggravating. Now I realized why I did it to the Kia. But sorry, Kia, I stole your parts again. Yeah, so now it's time to, oh yeah, I did have to bypass the starter here. I don't know if I showed that. And then the resistor mod, I had to do that to get the factory fuel pump to prime. So ended up having to do that. I got some jumpers here, found one that is hot all the time. So we just went over here to that relay, because the other way I had it with the pin, that was just kind of ghetto. We're not going to do that. So that way relay has constant 12 volt hot right here that's fused right there with a 5 amp fuse. And inside, so 12 volts was dropping out of this wire during crank. I didn't notice it at first till I had a helper. So this is a no-go, people. No-go. I actually went and took this and connected it here. This is a 12 volt constant. I think I need to flip it around the other way to be just 12 volt ignition on only. Actually, I could probably do that right now. But yeah, we'll go from there and get everything powered back on. Cranks up great. I didn't see the tack on the dash working for the crank signal, so we'll go from there. My new gauge pillar pod looks fantastic right there. That was like 80 bucks on eBay. I had it on a watch list. Dude sent me an offer for like 55 bucks. I was like, okay, cool, whatever, I'll take it. So now we have a pretty OEM looking dash up in here. Let's try to get her started today. All right, boys. 85 in the tank, got fuel pressure. Ooh, this is crazy. Yep, fuel pump is on. Ethanol percentage, I got E8 or E75 right now. Boom. Oh, tempted to give her a crank over. See if she fires. Oh, this is nerve-wracking. Nothing yet. Okay. We're close. Let's get this disconnected, turn that off. Okay, let's start troubleshooting. We had our first failure. I lost fuel pressure. And I heard a lot of spraying going around back here. So I was like, what the heck is going on? Pulled the pump out. That popped out, and there was a kink in the hose right here. So this Gates hose sucks. All right, I'm gonna try to figure this out and then try to start the car. It's been a few days. Been a lot of issues. Oh my. Okay, so I had that wired backwards. Kept popping the fuse. I was actually forcing oil from the pan up into the turbo. Yeah, so that with the rich amount of fuel going in, it wasn't firing. Gave me a little bit of chocolate milkshake on the ground, which I know it's not coolant, because there's no coolant in the car, there's no water, nothing. But I digress. Moved the exhaust because I got tired of tripping on it. So we have a few changes here, and I did add a connector to this and just grounded that out here. That goes to that relay I was telling you about. Then I have that wire that comes up over here. So we actually went over to the second fuse up. It's one of the ignition fuses. So this is no power with the key off. With the key on, it gets 12 volts. So that works perfect, so I don't have to worry about that relay being on all the time. I also have the reservoir right up here. So this wire, this hose goes to the back, which comes all the way up to the front and into the top port here. Gets teed off here. Yes, it is ugly. I couldn't find the right adapter fittings. I'm going to change that later. Don't worry. Goes into the steam port. And I have the top pipe that comes up here to the top. I have the top right here going into the left firewall. We have the right side coming this way and going down into the back port. The front port comes up and over into the bottom of the tank here. I just realized I don't have a hose clamp there. I need to put one on there before I try to fill this thing and start it. Good thing I checked. Double check everything, triple check. So thank you to Finding Seconds YouTube channel. He's the one that showed all the routing here in pretty good detail, so I went off of what he said. I am waiting on this one down here. So let me pull this out and show you. So you have the lower radiator hose and then the thermostat up here. This is what I have. I have a pressure sensor so I can tell if I'm lifting a head gasket or have a head issue. This is just one hose right here. There is your part number. It's off an 05 Silverado. I cut out a little bit of it, and right in the middle, so you can kind of get an idea of how long the cuts are. 45 at the bottom, 90 at the top. So when this goes in, just like so, right onto the lower part of the radiator, it lines up absolutely perfectly if I was to have a straight adapter right here off of there. So that's what I'm waiting on in the mail. The 90 or 45 right here, where the heck that is, off of the water pump does not work. It puts it right up into the side of those hoses right there. And this is the best idea I got for the hoses to come up and over. It does clear with the hood closed. If I didn't have the forward headers, these would probably be able just to go straight back. So heads up to anybody that's not doing the turbo or the forward headers, you might be able just to go turn and right up into there. Make it a whole lot easier. But yes, this will be absolutely perfect once I get that in, and then I can fill it with coolant and I can watch my coolant pressure in Megasquirt. Nothing is going. Oh, and a heads up with the sensor, the crank sensor right there. So just to give you an idea, you need it for, actually I have my sons over here I can give you an example with. Light. Let there be light. Okay, so I had the sensor sitting like right here, and that was dropping out of the crank signal. You want it up to where the edge is right at like tooth height, just like that, in about a 1/16 of an inch off. RPM seems to be good on cranking really, really well, so I can note that with this setup. So heads up on that. But yeah, I've been working on the timing map. It kind of burped and started. So yeah, you want to do it live right here. We can see if we can get this thing cranked over. Thank you, Sloppy Mechanics and Matt Happel. Oh, I need the key. I'll lift it up on the roof. There it is. Got the key on. got my Mega Squirt wire that I just have laying here still. I need to hook it up into the ignition. All right, got that powering on. That is on. Ethanol's kind of working itself out. We're at 80. And yeah. Oh man. Oh, see, that's the issue I've been having right there. So, gotta work on that just a little bit. But we are running. There we go. Oh yeah. LSRX8, baby. Let's go. Oh yeah, it doesn't turn off with the key. Gotta do that and then turn this. There we go, disconnect. Whew. Oh, so exciting. It smells like vodka in here. Love that ethanol. But yeah, so pump cuts on whenever the engine is onto an on state and not starting. So it will cut this on after over 500 RPM. And that's all in here with this relay box. So that's working as it should. It's not puking oil out the turbo anymore, or I mean, hopefully not out the exhaust. It's kind of up and over right now. So yeah, finally got her where she's kicking over, having issues, but I gotta work on the tune, but I can't leave it running until I get this on. Oh, so excited. Oh, and the throttle cable. I still haven't drilled both the throttle cable and the throttle pedal. So many little things to do. It's so much better. Relay's not kicking on. That's in the right spot now. Anything else I did, I will try to let you guys know. But yeah, whew. Little things. Keep doing little things. She runs. I'm starting to think it'd behoove me if I change out the injectors now. Before I work on this tune for the fuel, because I mean, timing's not going to change. Get these changed, I don't have to worry about it. Why waste a lot of time tuning it if I have the wrong injectors in it? So I think I need to do that. Fuel pressure's down because I cut it off with the key instead of Mega Squirt. So yeah, this would probably be a good time to kind of, when those headers cool off, pull the harness, which is a lot easier with that connector now. So I can just pull the drop harness, solder on new connections for the EV6 style. Yeah, EV6 style injectors, change over the settings in the Mega Squirt from the 2100 cc's over to those 800 cc's. I don't know what cc is to pounds, whatever, I'll figure it out. Yeah, I think I should get those changed over. That way tuning will be easy, drivability will be way better with the smaller injectors, even though that seemed to idle really well with giant injectors. So yeah, I'm gonna change some injectors out. Oh, before I stop it, I did practice some aluminum welding, which I suck. I need to get better. I really suck. But there's the twin turbo setup right here. Oh, don't crack the pan. Not the prettiest. And of course, after I did a few, I got way better at it. So I need more hood time. I really need more hood time. But I can put this on the twin turbo motor over there. Words are hard, always. Get that into the truck and out of the way, get some more walking room, and get my son down here to work on his car. Yeah. And there's the naked motor. It's so easy with the drop-on harness. Got all those out, ready to switch over the injectors, put on the new pigtails, and then get it back in the car and see if she starts up with the new fuel settings. And this is why you never finalize a harness until you are done driving, then you take it out and finish it up. Got everything changed over to the EV6 on this one side, still the EV1's over there. Just had a little bit of electrical tape I had to take off. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I'll get the other side finished up and go back on the car, then mess with the settings with the injectors and see if she fires. And the harness is done. Just have to retape a little bit of it. And I added my CAN bus wires here on the engine side so I can figure out where I'm going to run the harness for the Mega Squirt, or I'm sorry, Micro Squirt for the trans controller, so I can start working on that. Since we're making so much progress, I need to extend this purple and black, so I got myself a purple and a black here. to go to the coolant jug, so that sensor will also work. Little things keep on keeping on. This engine bay is starting to look way better. So I got my injectors, everything's ran underneath all the plugs and fuel, looking way better. More organized, the side even less. I did extend the low coolant wires up to there, so when I get that mounted, I'll get those tucked in. So that's functioning properly. We have the AC, so eventually when I do get AC, I can get that plugged in. Just for now, down you go. I got the little things here and there done. I added a hose clamp over here, so this will have some strain relief right there. Way better. So got the new injectors in, got the old ones over here, well, old new ones, so those are in the big intake. Now I need to configure everything in Megasquirt for these other injectors and see if she cranks. Alright, so all I have done is change the required fuel and the injector size. Everything else I did leave the exact same. So let's see if she still starts exactly the same as it did. Oh, probably not. Nope, gotta go mess with the tune. So, forgot to put the grounds on the coil packs. Alright, let's give it another try. Oh, look at that. Oh, come on. Yes. There we go. New injectors, everything's going fine. Yeah. Here's the missing link. So I got the Amazon filler neck that's straight up. So it'll go straight to my radiator hose right there. Everything seems to match up just fine with it. The thermostat looks like it's gonna be fine. And it's 180 degree too, just to let everybody know. Yeah, let's give it a shot. I think I'm gonna use the OEM bolts though. Ooh, shiny. Let's have a little bit more thread. So I'm gonna use these, not worried about these. I'll use it somewhere else. Let's put it on. But I forgot to freaking cut off the fan pigtails right here and wire them to the aftermarket fan, which is this style right here. So I need to figure out the wire colors, cut those, get those connected down there. Then I can let it warm up all the way. Like a freaking glove. Clears everywhere inside of this. Like it was meant to be there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Alright. Let's get some connectors on these fans. And put some coolant in it. And there we have the wiring. Okay. This black on this side does go to ground, so we know that that one's good. So black is ground, blue is power. We know this side's fine. I just took a stab at this one. I have no idea. I'm going to say green is ground, just because. I don't know. Just guessing here. Blue is power over here. I'm guessing blue is power over here. We'll find out when I go to start the car. So, come on, get down there. That way it won't be in the way. So, cool. Now nothing's in the way. Everything should be fine. I need to put some water in here. Not coolant because might have some leaks. Yeah, let's just go with water. And that kid's right there. This is why you never use coolant right away. All my work is fine. The water pump, I don't know if you can see it down there, but the water pump is draining right out the bottom from a weep hole. Dang it. Cool, need to buy a water pump. Thought this one that came on the motor would be fine, but no. We have a little leak down there. Yeah, that's great. No way. So close. I even have my fancy Harbor Freight coolant jug here to fill it up. Man, I want to warm this thing up. Start tuning it. Now I gotta take the intake off, take the belt off, take those hoses off. Oh, those are gonna suck. Because I had to move the freaking fuse box out of the way to tighten those and put them on. Man, it is what it is. Oh, fun times. Till tomorrow. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna call this one. Next video will be tuning. This is a long video. So close, yet so far, and so much disappointment on the ground. Catch you guys later.